This one's gonna be a doozy. Ginger Runner. What is up, everybody? Ethan Newberry, the Ginger Runner, here for another Ginger Runner video, and this one is gonna be big. Today I'm talking all about nutrition, specifically race day nutrition. One of the top questions I get asked, besides what's the best running shoe, is Ethan, what's the best nutrition for race day? Oh boy, you just opened a giant can of worms, my friends. Well, hopefully this video will answer some of your questions. At the end of the video, I'll tell you exactly what I use on race days. It's been working for me recently, so I'm gonna stick with it for as long as I can. That being said, I have to be open to change, but through the course of this video, I'm gonna be going over food and brands that will help us get to the finish line, whether it's in a training cycle or a race. What's both crazy and exciting is that this market is constantly changing. In fact, by the time that I post this video, there's probably already 3 new nut bars on the market. Nut bar. Let it be known, I am not a doctor, I am not a scientist, I am not a professional nutritionist. I am speaking only from experience. If you do have any sort of issues, make sure that you consult your doctor because they have a degree in your body. There are a couple of rules that we need to address first. What you eat every day will affect what works on race day. What is your daily diet? What is your daily input like? It will affect how you train, it'll affect how you race, and it will affect what calories work well for you in those scenarios. Just so you know. What works for me on race day may not work for you. What works for an elite may not work for you. What works for your best friend that you run with on a daily basis may not work for you. Our systems are completely different. So be willing to find your own path and try everything for yourself. What worked for me may not work for me. I may have trained with a substance or an item every single day of the week for months and it worked perfectly, but then on race day, it may just not work. It happens. Be willing to accept it and know that your plan will and can change at any given time and be willing to adapt. This is a huge one and it will just get you ahead in the game, and that is to be willing to adapt and change at any given moment. If things start going off the rails, you need to have a backup plan, and then a backup plan for your backup plan. You just need to be willing to be flexible, fluid, and adapt to any scenario. And finally, try everything. Everyone is different, everyone's body processes everything differently. If you try everything at least once or work through a couple training days with everything, I guarantee you'll have a much better idea of how your body behaves under certain stresses and with certain calories. So those are the guidelines I think we should all abide by. Let's get into specifics. Now that I've been doing this for a few years, I know that I personally need to take in about 200 to 300 calories per hour. I also know that that number can change based off of my effort. In addition to calories, I find that I like to take in about 20 ounces of water per hour. Now this number will vary greatly from individual to individual based off of sweat rate, based off of heat, training, diet, water retention. This is a number that you should be experimenting with for yourself and don't take anyone else's word for it. I have friends that take in twice as much water as I do. I have friends that take in half as much water as I do, and they perform just fine. So the hourly water input will vary from person to person, so know that. But once you have a better idea of what these numbers are for you, you'll have a much better idea of how you should take in those calories given your race scenario. But I have broken sources of calories into 4 major categories: real food and bars, gels and blocks, liquid, and miscellaneous. Remember, your access to certain types of calories will be different based off the race type you're running. But let's start talking about these calorie sources and figuring out what might work for you. Real food and bars, this category is huge. This is also the category that has the most variation from race type to race type. A big city road marathon won't have tables full of potato chips, nuts, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and burritos, whereas an ultramarathon might have all of those and more. Some of the benefits to using real food as your calorie source: you know the ingredients, especially if you made it yourself, you know exactly what went into it. You have more control over your diet. If you have dietary restrictions, this gives you ultimate control. It can be extremely filling. You can take in a lot of calories really quickly with real food or bars. And you're also dealing with like natural fats, carbs, just natural sources for all those things that your body needs. However, some of the negatives: size. A lot of the items tend to be very large. Weight, they also tend to be very heavy, both of which limit portability extremely. You know, carrying a giant bag of nut butter is just not gonna work for a road marathon. It could, just look weird. And it can be real easy to lose count on calories. There are a number of items in the real food bar category that I really like, the most basic of which is fruit. I love watermelon, berries, I love apples, I love various types of fruit sources. I also like nut butters. Pocket fuel is a good example. You can get portable size, you can get larger sizes. It's basically nut butter. Trail butters are similar items, just a bit larger packaging, much more difficult to carry on a race. This is far easier to justify popping into a backpack if you're backpacking through the Appalachians or doing a long multi-day event. You can also deal with things like honey stinger waffles, which are super thin, very portable, delicious, warning you how delicious they are. The ever popular Cliff Bar, which tends to be on the dry side, tons of good ingredients in there. And then you can even get into the bars that are full-on meal replacements, like the Green Belly meal replacement bars. They're heavier, they're super dense, they're really hard to pack unless you are doing some sort of backpacking adventure, but they provide you with all the calories you need for an entire meal right here in a package. So obviously there are tons of options in the real food and bars category. There's just too many to list. I know a lot of people that depend solely on real food to get to the finish line. They don't take in extra gels, they don't take in any other liquid nutrition or anything like that. They just focus solely on what they can get at an aid station or what they can carry in their pack. Now there is a category of much smaller, more portable versions of real food, and that is the gels and blocks category. This is probably the category that we're all familiar with. These types of items are available at almost any major scale race, whether it's an ultra, a road, a cycling event. They're just everywhere. And most endurance athletes have tried numerous brands of gels and tend to have their favorite. I do. Some of the benefits to gels and blocks, the size, the weight are both very small, so they're extremely portable. You can shove them in a pocket, you can shove multiple into a pocket, you can carry them in all sorts of race events. You tend to get a huge variety of flavors, from maple bacon to frappuccino. Super affordable, you get a number of gels for very little dollars. They can be easier on the stomach than real food, and what's great is that there are a variety of brands that offer you various ingredient combinations, vegan options, meat options. It doesn't matter, it's out there if you need it. But some of the negatives do include a higher amount of sugars, the ingredients and the ingredient sources you have less control over, and in some instances these can be harder on the stomach for some individuals. With gels and blocks, there's just so many to choose from out there, so many different brands, different flavors, everything like that. From Hammer Nutrition, Cliff, Vega, to Goo brand itself. A little salty action. The options are literally endless for gels and flavor combinations, so this is a category I feel like most of us have dealt with on a regular basis, and a lot of us will consider our main source of calories during the course of our races. In my early marathons, I knew that I would take a gel every 4 to 5 miles, but now I've switched it and take a gel based off a duration of time. In a road marathon, every 30 to 40 minutes I can pop a gel. In an ultra marathon, depending on the effort, I will take a gel every 20 to 30 minutes. Keeping in mind that I want to get to that 200 to 300 calorie per hour mark. That being said, there's another player in town, and that is the liquid calorie source. These tend to come in large bags or tubs of powder. You just add them to water, shake it up, and you have a calorie source. Some of the benefits, it's an all-in-one package. A lot of these liquid nutrition sources provide you with the calories, with the sodium, with the amino acids, with the protein. Basically, it's a one-stop shop to get you everything you need to replenish what your body is losing. They tend to be easier to digest as well. Not always the case, but some have found that their stomachs just take to it easier. But some of the negatives are major with liquid nutrition. Portability is a huge issue. How do you carry a giant tub of powder with you when you're running a marathon or an ultra marathon? There's also this lingering hunger. No matter how much liquid nutrition you put into your system, you still feel hungry for real food. You also run the risk of overhydration or underhydration depending on how intense you dilute this liquid down. So there's a lot of variability here, and this is where experimentation and trial and error come in. Some liquid nutrition sources include Tailwind Nutrition, Hammer Perpetuem or Sustained Energy, Vitargo, Roctane, Infinite, and Cytomax. But not all of them have these little portable packages like the new Tailwind packages, which are a great benefit to be able to carry this around. So how do you carry this stuff? And I have found that just a little Ziploc bag like this and shoving 400 calories or something in there works wonders, but you also end up mixing on the run, which can be a huge problem and super messy. Regardless, now that I've been using liquid nutrition for a long time, I find that something like this is actually super easy to use. You can shove it in a pocket, and it really is that one-stop shop solution that gets you everything you need. And our final category, miscellaneous. Now I wanted to include this category full of items that are complementary sources of calories. This includes noon hydration, any sort of caffeine energy shot, ginger chews, ginger, Scratch Labs, Vespa, even Coca-Cola. Some of the benefits to including these items in your arsenal, they can help make up for the deficiencies of some of your other items. If you're not getting enough salt, take a salt tab. If you're not getting enough electrolytes, take a noon tab. But of course, one of the negatives is that you have to carry something else. And that's it for the category. So you get the idea of how I kind of broke it down, different food classifications, different sources of calories. Now the question's gonna come, how do I get my calories? As I mentioned, early marathon days, it would be gels and block sourced. As I've moved more into ultras and trail running events, while I still take in gel and block form nutrition, I now supplement that with real food as well as liquid nutrition. What I have found works best for me at this point, a bag of Tailwind, a couple gels, and watermelon. That's it. It's simple sources of calories, it's a little bit of everything. Combining it all together has given me some pretty good results. Will it change? Yeah, probably. At some point, either something else is gonna come out on the market that I'm gonna try and be like, oh, this is it. This is what I wanna use. Or I'm gonna find that my body is reacting to something in a certain way, so I'm gonna need to adapt. I'm okay with that. If there was one solution that would work for everybody, it would take some of the challenge out, am I right? Granted, if we could just run on pizza all the time, that would be great. So that is it for me. I mean, I'm able to get my 200 to 300 calories just based off of liquid nutrition, supplementing it with some gels if I need that extra energy, extra sugar boost, and then continuing to supplement with real food when I get to aid stations. In a road marathon scenario, when I don't necessarily have access to the real food aspect, I can depend solely on liquid nutrition or gels and attempt to supplement with any real food that they might have at aid stations. The goal is to ultimately train my body to be able to work with anything at any given time, but for some of us, that's just not gonna happen. So to prove just how variable it is from person to person, my question to you today in the comments below, let me know, what do you use? What are your sources of calories when you race? So if you continue to have questions about what might work for you or you need solutions, check out the comments below because I guarantee you're gonna get about 1,000 different answers. I know it's confusing, I know it's overwhelming, we all have to face it on a regular basis, but trust me, it gets a little bit easier every single time you get out there and try something. So that is it for today's video. I'm sure I've gone entirely too long on the subject and barely even touched on it, but if you wanna get some more in-depth solutions and explanations, I have a number of Ginger Runner Live episodes where we've touched or talked entirely about nutrition, so I encourage you to go check those out as well. Do not forget to follow me on all the social networks. If you reach out, I'll try to respond as quickly as possible. On Twitter, I'm at The Ginger Runner. Over on Facebook, it's facebook.com/TheGingerRunner. On Instagram, it's at Ethan Newberry, and it's gingerrunner.com for all things ginger. Ha ha ha, ginger! That's it, everybody. I hope you're getting out there, training hard, racing harder, partying the hardest, and trying out some new nutrition options. I know I am all the time. All right, we'll see you guys next time. Bye.